Hi there, it's Dr. Worthy. Welcome to this video on writing a research paper. This video provides some general recommendations for writing a research paper in graduate school, as well as some specific information when you're going to be writing papers in one of my classes. I want to start with a comparison of a research paper versus a literature review. A research paper has the following characteristics. It's the report of an empirical study. This is what we call a primary source or an original publication where the author is testing a hypothesis. The research paper reflects the stages of the hypothesis testing process. So it's going to include a very clear introduction, a method section, a results section, and a discussion. A literature review has the following characteristics. It's a synthesis of research that other people have published. It provides a critical evaluation of other studies on a relevant topic, and it reviews the progress of research in solving a problem or addressing an issue. When we say research paper, what we really mean is a literature review because we're not conducting independent research as part of our counseling program. The purpose of a literature review is to clarify and define the problem, the issue, or the topic, to inform readers about current findings in the field, to identify relationships, inconsistencies, contradictions, or gaps in the literature. Literature reviews can also summarize conclusions by suggesting alternatives or providing steps for addressing an issue or resolving a particular problem. The components of your literature review are up to you, the writer, but some suggestions are provided in the APA publication manual or the style guide. That includes kind of grouping your materials or grouping your content into paragraphs or sections based on similarities, concepts, theories of interest, maybe methodological similarities of the articles that are selected, so maybe all quantitative, all qualitative articles, or you could group it by historical developments in the field, so maybe something a little bit more chronological. I just want to say a few things about peer-reviewed sources. So this is a term that you may or you may not have heard before. Typically, peer-reviewed sources are those primary sources that have been published in journals. They reflect the most current research on a topic. These articles are subject to what we call blind review and are reviewed by subject matter experts, and they're only accepted for publication based on reviewer recommendations. You may have heard peer-reviewed sources sometimes called scholarly journals. Our first step in writing a literature review or research paper is to pick a topic. Your topic should be large enough to find relevant research, but narrow enough to keep you from feeling overwhelmed. For example, a topic like substance abuse is too broad. It's way too big. You could narrow your topic by considering specific substances like alcohol, cocaine, prescription drugs. You could narrow your topic by population, preteen, college students, older adults, or by some other area like treatment, recovery, or relapse. A good topic area might be barriers to employment for persons with disabilities. A better topic would be barriers to employment for persons with a psychiatric disability, right? Barriers in general is really big. You can still find relevant research by narrowing it to a specific population or specific disability type. Step 2 of the process is conducting your literature search. You're going to start by using an online database, and you're going to identify full text articles. Stay away from interlibrary loan if you can. That delays the process that an article would get to you. You're also going to want to look at an appropriate database. So you might want to start with social sciences or psychology databases. Those can be a good place to start. Enter your search terms. And again, to make this process easier for you, select scholarly articles that are full text when you're submitting or conducting your search. Then you're sure to get those peer-reviewed sources that you can download and save immediately. Step 3 is evaluating the articles, but before you can do that, I strongly suggest that you find more resources than you need. Do not aim for the assignment minimum, because as you start reading some of the articles, you're going to find that they don't fit the topic very well. When you're reading the articles, you should look for common themes, contradictions, things that link your articles together. Remember that you're writing a professional research paper, not a persuasive paper. So you're going to want to look for things that may also contradict those commonly held beliefs, and then start organizing your articles into categories. Step 4 is what I call that synthesis. You should begin by combining these many sources together to create something that is new and something that is unique. To do that, you're going to look for common words, ideas, themes that seem to repeat themselves. You should be making a note of conflicts or contradictions in the information or the articles. You should write down what questions the article answers or in what way it contributes to the broader field. You should also be kind of listing key ways or key features about how that question gets answered. How did they approach their research? What I hope you take away from this is that it's a very active process where you're writing, you're taking notes, you're reflecting along the way. Finally, it's time to assemble our paper. The model that I use is an upside down triangle, that's with the point down, because this is how I like to think about writing a literature review. You may have learned a different method. You should use whatever method is going to help you to be the most successful. In my model, we've got these 3 main sections: the introduction, which is at the top, the themes or categories, which are in the middle, and then narrowing to the tip is the conclusion. We're going to talk about each level in some detail. So in section 1, our introduction, or that introductory paragraph, should describe or define the scope of the problem or your topic area. You should be providing a brief introduction to the topic or some type of overview to this topic. Also, in the final sentences of this particular paragraph, you're going to describe what you're going to do, what you're going to talk about in the rest of the paper. And you need to make sure that you're doing it in that particular order. That's a sign of good writing. And it's also what I expect to see in that introductory paragraph. Your consistency is going to be critical. In section 2, where the themes or the categories go, this is the longest and the most in-depth section of the paper. It's really in this section where you're going to be providing that synthesis of the latest research. I recommend that you use headers to chunk and organize the content in this section to guide the reader. Each paragraph in this section needs a topic and a transition sentence that ends one paragraph but then leads into the next paragraph. Also, there should be at least 2 to 3 references for each paragraph. I'm going to say that again. Each paragraph should have at least 2 to 3 references that integrate, and then you're going to synthesize the information contained in those sources. The final section summarizes all of the earlier work. This is not being redundant. Summarizing the paper reflects quality professional writing. Don't introduce anything new into this final conclusion section. You need to be identifying areas that need to be researched or explored further. You should be talking about limitations of some of the research that you identified for this paper, and you need to address the implications that your topic and this research has for the field or other professionals. Why is the summary of research important, and how does it contribute? That's what your 3rd paragraph should be covering. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I recommend that you also watch the video on APA and mistakes to avoid. APA formatting and language is essential to writing a quality literature review.